All right, sorry about that. Got delayed again, as always. Sending off the emails. I just created one heck of a epic spam for that APEC video, sending it off to 56, 57 of my most influential fellow YouTubers slash scientists slash promotional agents slash artists and musicians and the whole everybody, because it was epic, as well as all of the people that were involved in those clips, so that we can do even more. So the theme of this one today is what Bert and Ernie always have going on next to them, my alchemy experiments, the electrolysis, what I believe cold fusion to be, and also that is monoatomic matter that I've reproduced out of several different metals, including nickel, zinc, lead, iron, copper, silver, gold, and bismuth, and a few aluminum, and I think a few more that I'm still missing out there. Every single last one of those elements I've been able to produce through my electrolysis process into this pure white, fluffy, what David Hudson calls ormus, orbitally rearranged electron molecule or something like that. Anywho, monoatomic plasma state. So that's the key. Like ionic gas, when gas is ionized, it's in its plasma state. Plasma is the fourth state of matter. This is what I theorize, and the Keshe Foundation was what put me onto that train of thought, that it is this plasma state, fourth state of matter, that monoatomic matter is. And that I've gone through Sir Isaac Newton's recently, recently being 3 or 4 years ago now, maybe even 5, that it was made public, but made public for the first time in what, 250, 300 years since he was alive and wrote those papers, and then they were in private lockup ever since. And Isaac Newton being the like foundation of all modern physics and science and the building blocks of it, and just a genius. And that these what his documentation of the science of alchemy, and then what I have now deciphered out of it, as well as reproduced through the electrolysis chemistry, aka L-Chem, electrical chemistry, and the 7 states of metals, from this pure white to the yellow sulfur, the blue-green oxidized, the red mercurial, and the crystal pink state. What else is there? A couple more. I'm forgetting. Anywho, we'll go through it at some point. Yeah. All right. So how's that for an intro? And as far as monoatomic goes, the like darkest beigeish is what I still consider. It's still like when you spin it up, white and fluffy, or and this was made of pure gold, monoatomic, and this is the silver. And like that's about as gray or pinky that I consider the material to be in the monoatomic state. When it's in this blue-green oxidized state, or the red mercurial state, it is extremely highly toxic, or able to be absorbed into your skin instantly, fast accumulating, giving you heavy metal poisoning. Thus, disclaimer, don't do this stuff at home and mess around with it if you have no idea what you're doing and not in a controlled lab environment. It's insane. And especially the cold fusion part, when you're hooking up electricity into the reaction, the higher the voltages, as well as also toroidal shapes and coils. another key part. And that's the first clip I'm going to play here right now is part of the Bob Greenyer of the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project interview that I did with him on my old Crypto Alchemist channel, and also up on his Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project channel with myself and JP, of course, Jeremiah Pop, his 2 YouTube channels, Join the Technicians and Exotic Propulsion. Props to the Pops, JP, very intelligent man. And yeah, enough of me rambling. Let's share the actual clips here so everybody can know what I'm talking about, while we also... Nope. No, disclaimer first, and then second video I have to share is gonna blow all your minds away. It's just anyone that is still in denial of thinking that cold fusion is not reality, and also not how nature works in the plasma state, also ball lightning, a natural phenomenon, how it happens on Earth environments. I have a video that shows hydrogen being transmutated into helium cold fusion electrolysis process to share after this first Martin Fleischmann, Bob Greenyer disclaimer on what puts out also radiation and danger is the cavitation, the amounts of rate of cavitation within the electrolysis process that you will very easily be able to harm yourself, kill yourself, give yourself all sorts of horrible cancer, radiation poisoning from that exposure. Like, this is not stuff to mess around with. Yeah. And I haven't even, it's the video I'm going to share of that is not even my own setup, because I don't risk that sort of radiation experiment risk in my own home. Like, you got it. Yeah. Just anywho. Where is there? No. What the? Son of a gun. I guess I'm going to have to load the Bob Greenyer one, because I closed it at the end of the last stream that we just did on the APEC when it didn't load. Sorry, guys and girls and everybody that is joining in for my rambling delay. I guess we're going to start off with hydrogen cold fusion into helium. Boom, baby, boom. It's real. It's legit. Enjoy.
Welcome back to the shop. My name is Micheal Rains. Today we're going to make something truly special. We're going to make something called cold fusion. Now, it's very controversial because cold fusion is said not to exist, or it is said not to be possible, or at least the experiment can't be replicated. Well, I'm going to at least prove one of those myths wrong. We're going to replicate the experiment. And this is how we're going to do it. We're going to take our trusty tube that we used last week. But different things are going to go on. Let me show you.
All right, here's the heart of our machine. We have 2 rods of tungsten carbide, one uninsulated, holding some stainless perf, one insulated with plastic coating, and these little porcelain insulators. You may recognize them. They are fuses. I took the end caps off, hollowed them out, slid them over our tungsten carbide rod for a little heat protection. I don't know if it's going to do much, but we have to do what we can, because the process inside here is going to be very, very violent and hot. Now, you can see that this is just the top of the water filter. Here we're going to have our thermometer, our negative and positive connections. Yes, they're just tubes, but there are connections. So now, let's put this puppy together.
Okay, now we're going to put some water in our little tank. Yes, you guessed it, it's going to be distilled water, not tap water, not spring water. It has to be distilled. So we're going to pour that in. Okay, we don't want to fill it up all the way, just halfway would be fine. Now we're going to put our anode and cathode array back inside. And that's basically how it sits. Now, we still have to put in our electrolyte, which is KOH. But first, I'm going to talk about the process a little more. Now, what happens in this chamber, it's going to make a plasma arc. It's also going to make hydrogen. What's going to happen when the plasma arc hits the hydrogen? You guessed it. It's going to burn the hydrogen. That's how this process works. The plasma arc and the current make hydrogen and burn hydrogen at the same time. That's why some people say that we can make over unity by using a little energy to excite the hydrogen to make more energy. This is what the big controversy is all about. I don't really care about the controversy. I just care that there is a process going on here and we're going to get to experience it. Okay. Now we're going to add some KOH. Again, nasty stuff. We're going to put on some safety gear. My trusty yellow glasses and some nice gloves. Again, I cannot stress safety. KOH, again, was used for drain cleaner. It's nasty stuff. You do not want it on your skin, and especially you do not want it in your eyes. So we have to be very careful with this stuff, okay? All right, we're going to start adding the KOH. Now I'm going to put in a little at a time so we don't put in too much. Again, if we get too much current flowing, the experiment's not going to work. If we don't get enough current flowing, the experiment's not going to work. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in a little right now, and we're going to close it up, and then we're going to play with it. We're going to find out at what point we have the right current flow. Yeah, it's a little experimental, but you know, that's science. So we're going to put in a little more. And now we're going to screw it together, and we're going to put it back into our stand. Okay. Okay. So we have our transformer hooked up. We have our canister in place. We have our anode and cathode and our negative and positive hooked up. And also here, this little stainless tube is a thermometer, which is hooked up here so we can monitor our temperature. This is where the experiment's going to happen, is the temperature. Now, let's fire it up. Now we've plugged in our variac. Oops, I forgot to tell you what a variac is. This is a really big volume control, like on your stereo, except it controls current in volts. It regulates how much current flows through it. Like let's say we wanted to limit the current that goes to our transformer. Well, we only turn the variac up to 10%. Now, as you can see on our gauges already, we're registering some current and some voltage. Now, we have to warm this up slowly. You can also see that we're bubbling here inside the reaction chamber. That is hydrogen being made. Now, because it's high current and not low current, we have less volume of hydrogen, but more current through the water, which heats up the water. If you watch closely, you'll see this thermometer click up, and it'll heat the water slowly. And we have to heat the water slowly for the next 10 or 15 minutes till we get it to 100 degrees before we can kick on full volume. If I was to turn on the power full right now with the variac, you'd see the reaction, but only for a short bit. It would pop the breaker either on the variac or the transformer or the breaker on the cell. One of them would go. That's why we have to heat the water to the right temperature to give it the right resistance to make this experiment work. So, we're making a little hydrogen. We're up to temperature. As you notice, our voltage is relatively low. Our amperage has dropped down. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give it some more power. You can see on our what's up meter, we're using 92 to 94 watts of power. But I'm going to turn it up. So now we're using a little more power. Our amperage is 2.5. Our volts is at 50. We're bubbling down there, nothing special. Now, we are at 107 degrees. Now we're going to let her have it. there's our reaction. As you can notice, we're at 250 volts.
So I'm just pausing it here to add in and notice and state that it's this plasma arc, but like, so the arc between the anode and cathode there that creates the plasma, and within that plasma, this fourth state of high energy molecules all in that plasma bulb, the ball lightning, the arc, that is where the actual nuclear cold fusion is happening, and the transmutations of elements together in this cold fusion. Martin Fleischmann of Bob Greenyer of the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project. Sorry, Martin Fleischmann being the deceased but original discoverer of cold fusion through electrolysis in the 1980s, and then they attacked him. They essentially debunked and discredited him, even though it's 100% legit. They just wanted to keep it classified. Shame, set back humanity by 30, 40 years, and proof in fact and why we now know that it's 100% true, and that Martin Fleischmann indeed sacrificed his life, as probably many of the ancient alchemists died with not knowing what they're doing and triggering some of these same sort of experiments and radiations and poisonings on themselves. He passed of cancer due to all of the radiation that he was exposed to. And that's why Bob Greenyer calls it the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project, his YouTube channel, which I will load up after this. And Bob Greenyer has done like 30 years of this, and like at least, I don't even know how old his channel is. I've been watching it forever, probably at least a decade, I believe, since I ever got into this, if not before. My own experiments of a decade now. Lost my train of thought. That he's also studied and verified under the microscope, under like the scientific analysis, everything. John Hutchinson's leftover transmutational metal samples, proving and showing and understanding, deciphering the reactions of those transmutational processes and whatnot that happened in that plasma state as well. Back to this video with the blue purple. Notice also that the cold fusion plasma is always ultraviolet in color, as opposed to the hot fusion when it turns into flame, and you have your red, orange, yellow plasma state reactions. And that's where modern nuclear fusion plants are still 15 years away, and you know they're going to be something, but it's just so impossible. And they're actually retarded because they're trying to have to get the solid metal materials into a hot plasma state, which then takes millions of degrees centigrade, and like oh, it's just insane. Like, and they're trying to just push it together with maximum energy and everything, that like, no, you don't want to have to recreate the sun to get your reaction going, and that's absolutely idiotic. Cold fusion is the exact opposite, where it's the smallest amount of energy to trigger the reaction of just vibrating on that same wave, that same little frequency, resonant frequency of the atom, of what you are, the matter that exists and what you're aiming for, and switching them out, and from photon light to electrical to physical atom and everything in between. Back to watching that cold fusion arc ultraviolet cold plasma in electrolysis water, small amount of voltage, very, very cold, or not cold, but low energy, low temperature, producing two hydrogens into helium. And after we finish watching this happen, I will read to you what the hell I was just rambling about, this brand new article on the future of fusion, nuclear fusion, and how it's so stupid, and how they just got like $10 billion worth of funding, and hopefully it'll happen, be built in 15 years. Like, it's like, can you just give me like 1 million of that 10 billion, and I will get you your cold fusion reactors and your aka fusion reactors going in 2 years, 5 years for operating, or proof of concept operating actual designs. And like, look right here, little reactor already working, proving it, let's test it, give me money, government or private angel investor. It's so frustrating. Anywho, enough of my rant, let's continue.
Amperage is going anywhere from 3 to 2, and that's the fusion process that supposedly is impossible. It's 182 Fahrenheit. That's warm. See, we're about a 1 3/4 to 2 amps fluctuating, 260 volts. And the temperature is going up slowly. Steam is starting to come out. We're steaming the water in only a few seconds of action. And it sounds cool too. Here, get a closer sound of that. Kind of sounds like a Ferrari underwater, huh? That's cool. Now, look at the what's up meter fluctuating. I think we might be losing an insulator. Okay, that's exciting. All right, our thermometer is officially not happy. And we're producing steam here, kids. All right. There it is. It works. We're done.
It's paradigm shifting. All the problems on this planet, bar natural phenomena, are caused by human beings. They're caused by the human condition. It's the greatest problem on the planet. Solving it has the power to end all of the suffering because it deals with the fundamental insecurity.
Stupid commercial. Sorry, I thought, didn't realize it ended so quick there. I thought there was a little bit more of it. What the heck is playing? Oh. Out of anything to be starting to play in the background, it was the Kevin Day interview. What a good one. If you didn't see the APEC highlight stream that I just produced an hour ago, make sure you check it out. It's pretty freaking epic. Okay, now, what I was originally trying to show, my interview with Martin of the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project YouTube channel, and the genius Bob Greenyer that runs it, and myself and JP on it. So I'm posting right now in the live chat Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project YouTube channel that you can go check out all of Bob's work on. and in the video section, you can see all these other he works with so many great scientists. There's so much new discovery coming out on the plasma technology, these transmutations, cold fusion, through the ball lightning, as well as the coils, the triple solenoids, and how crucial they are, the donut, the torus shape structure that is the universe and the magnetic field. Bob has also been doing a lot with that lately, and it's just, if let's get this anti-gravity, higher dimensional technology and free energy technology going and out there and in the public. It's been too long, but yeah, make sure you go give Bob a subscribe at Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project, and you go down. 2 months ago, we recorded this. Let's let her play. Buffering, hooray. Are you kidding me? There we go.
I was like, out of all the ones they sent Bob, it might be morning time before he's off to work and has his busy day, and we'll see if we can get him on. It worked out, and blessed to every optimal or correct, most likely, and that I just kind of had it like that in the meantime, but they're easy to take apart and use, and
they're bubbling away, or is it?
Yeah, so when the first hour that I had it going, it was pure white. It always comes off the anode side, so I suspect it's monoatomic when it's the pure white. It started to go a bit gray now. The anode is a combination. I've got a sheet of aluminum, a sheet of zinc, as well as pure copper solenoid wrap around it, and then an iron ferrite. And that's why I haven't done it anymore.
Because life wants the energy that they even do that if you ingest it. And the reason
coils and what Keshi calls GANs, which.
All right, sorry for the skipping around there. I was just trying to find this crucial part where Bob starts talking about all of the dangers that do not try this at home. Like, it is dangerous stuff, but it's crucial science that needs to have proper funding and be done in the labs, and that's what we're getting done as best we can here. And angel donors out there, feel free. Now I'll shut the F up and let's Bob take her away.
Which is just another acronym for ORMUS.
So ORMUS, if you think about it, is effectively it's a multi-level tour, but at the atomic level. And so I think what you'll find is that these are effectively able to harness some energy from the physical vacuum or cohere the cold neutrino condensate. And so that is, I believe, what ORMUS is doing. It would even do that if you ingest it. And the reason why this ties up is, as I said on my stream on the weekend, and I briefly mentioned this, that David Hudson said, look, we did test this for people, but for those that already have cancer, it will accelerate the cancer. But for those that don't already have cancer, it will prevent them from developing cancer, if you know what I mean. And so it has the same biological effect that the observations of Shishkin did when they were having a stream of relic neutrino condensates, which are string vortex solitons. So I mean, I can see what you're showing there. I have looked at an ORMUS that was generated from gold in Hungary. I will share that data at some point, but we could not find a resolution on the SEM that was able to show less subdivisions. It was incredibly small. So yeah, I mean, my view on Ormus is you really need to know the state of your biology before consuming it.
Yes,
because
I believe that's 100% correct. The one person that I did make some monoatomic gold, zinc, copper, silver combination for their father who was succumbing to leukemia, I believe it did actually accelerate the condition of it, which was sad. And that's why I haven't done it anymore.
Because life wants the energy that these things are able to.
It magnifies whatever field is within the area. So if you have the field of the disease there and you don't have it pinged in to target that, and you're just putting a multiplier in with putting these materials in, it's going to multiply whatever there's the most of. And
I think it's
simple disease, it's going to make it worse.
I think it's simple.
If you're healthy, it's good.
Essentially, if you think the cancer cell wants to divide and it's got no breaks on its level of division, normal cells, the body is telling them to divide. They'll divide until they fulfill their role. Fantastic! It's great to see more coils. They'll divide until they have fulfilled what they've been asked to do, and then they will stop. Cancer cells don't do that. They continue to divide, and all biology will use what it can to divide as fast as it can to get the job done. And when you give Ormus or you treat it with these relic neutrino condensate flux in the form of string vortex photons or black evos, they are one and the same thing effectively, and they will accelerate the division process. And so, you know, we've got things that David Hudson said in the 1980s, and now we have a deep understanding of the underlying mechanism for these things. So I kind of prefer the idea that if you can create the condensates and treat people in the right part of their body, we can generally improve health. But when I worked to try and help some people that had cancer that were after using Francesco Piantelli's service in Italy, and I went through the whole process with Francesco Piantelli. He absolutely will not permit anyone that has not gone through the normal medical procedures to access his technology. So they have to go through chemotherapy if that fails, and then they go through, you know, maybe incising and removing cancers. And if that fails and there's no hope, he will then go ahead and treat. But I never had in fact, interestingly, he uses 50 hertz, and he actually has patents out there how 50 hertz is quite good at resonating with biological media. And that's interesting because in the States you run at 60 hertz, which is against this frequency. He actually has papers and patents, I think, out there, certainly papers.
I'm so happy you're bringing this topic up specifically, because it's something I'm trying to dive deeper into my science of sound and the different frequencies of electromagnetic waves going into both music as well as electricity, the currents, and the different wavelengths that they have them operating on, and changed them and manipulated them over the years from what was more natural to what they are now.
Yeah, I mean, my brother in Israel, he has an entire record label where they remaster dance tracks to 432 hertz from whatever it is.
Okay,
yeah,
well, we have to book your brother for a future episode, please.
He's absolute legend. I mean,
what I am looking for in our series.
He basically produces a lot of trance and acid and all kinds of really fast beat music and
we've got to trade and swap tracks sometimes, Bob. And by the way, awesome to see you on here. Cannot believe you're awake. I wanted to mention a couple things.
Well, no, this is easy for me because this is my day.
Right, I figured. I was like, out of all the ones I sent Bob, it might be morning time before he's off to work and has his busy day, and we'll see if we can get him on. It worked out, and blessed to everyone being here and watching.
I'm just so amazed you got Bob on, man. If you could have got anyone else on here tonight, I mean, talk about epic. So we started the show by looking at the beautiful rendering of the Super Tour, as you called it, which is actually a 4th order tour and a gorgeous one at that. And taking a look at this stuff. Okay, so we were just looking at these little spirals, and I'll give an instruction for anyone that wants to replicate one of these very terribly difficult to replicate things. Okay, this is one of those fiberglass rods from Home Depot, and these are used for snowplow trucks to identify where not to drive into. And anyways, you can stick this whole entire 4 or 5 foot length into a drill and start by spiraling your wire around this rod. And because this rod is fiberglass, and because copper is springy, which can be a bit of a problem, what I did is hook up both sides of each full length to a power supply and heated the wire up, not to the point of destroying the insulation, but we're only talking about, maybe running 20 or 30 volts here at 30 hertz, according to the original paper, which is not going to be a problem, even if the insulation was slightly damaged. But it's not. I got it to the point where it darkened, and what that did was anneal the copper just enough so that it didn't try to unspring or unwind itself when I pulled the whole thing off the rod. And because it still had just a bit of spring to it, it was very easy to remove. So I just took those in sections, and I'll show if I can. So here's a section.
Can I step in there? Because that's a very
please.
valuable thing, what I think you've done there. But I think maybe, could there be a way where you could get one of these thermal tapes and put it around the point at which you're winding? And so you're just only applying the heat for the time it needs to do the winding, or just prior to it?
No, you couldn't, because you need to anneal the entirety of the copper loop. And if you try to heat this from the outside,
no,
or
I'm saying
with the torch or anything else,
as it's progressively winding.
Oh, I guess, yeah, you could.
So you're not continuously heating the whole wire. You're just doing it. You preheat it just before you go into winding, or just post heating it, like you do when you're perming someone's hair, right?
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. If you wanted and did not have to, if you didn't have to rewind it at all or make any mistakes, and you didn't have to tighten it because it was a perfectly tight wind, or make any adjustments after putting your length on the rod, and you had already annealed it, then of course it would want to hold its shape because it's not going to want to unbend. But the trouble is that when you buy magnet wire, it's already gone through a multiple number of spoolers and rollers, and so it's going to have a bit of a memory to it, and we need to remove that first. Of course, we need to remove that without damaging the insulation, and I figured the best way to do that is actually from the inside out. So anyways, when you go to wind these things, after you get it on the rod, you take it, you take the long single coil off the rod, you wind these loops back around the rod, and what I ended up doing was just kind of running a whole long length of hot glue right down the side. Now, this is a terrible method. I would not recommend that people try this, because the hot glue, if it seeps in a little too deeply, or if you're off by, say you want to attach just 4 coils together, 5 coils together, 5 loops of each of these coils together, if it's a little too thick, it's not going to bend, and that's a major problem. So don't do that. What I would instead actually recommend doing is taking a long strip of, say, flexible tape of some kind and running a bead of silicone along it, and then setting this down into it and waiting for that silicone to cure. If you don't want to wait 24 hours for silicone to cure, then get yourself a 2-part silicone epoxy mix. It's not technically epoxy, but 2-part silicone, and that way you can get each of these rod lengths done in, say, 2 hours or less. And so I just wanted to point out the connection point here at the middle. Let me roll back around there, because for people wanting to replicate, this is kind of important, because you can only wind, say, 5 feet at a time. So there it is. There's just this little solder point where right in the middle of the loop, we make that splice. And for a full tour, we would actually need to make probably 3 or 4 splices all together, ending up with a total loop length like this of almost, for this size rod, I think this is like a 6 millimeter. So we'd probably end up with a whole loop length, if we just looked at something like this, of about maybe 10 foot long. And that of course adds its own complexities. But I wanted to ask you something specific, and I've been wanting to ask it since the day that you did the original broadcast, the one that you were so excited about before translation, epic broadcast. And that part is the one that I think stands out the most. Not whether or not the field projection is strange or anything else like that, but the fact that you disconnect the signal generator, according to the author of that paper, and that a magnetic field probe, or a microteslameter, as they call it in that paper, picks up, feeding to an oscilloscope, a continuous signal for up to 2 days at the same frequency with the identical wavelength, slowly decaying in amplitude over 2 days. Here's what I wanted to ask you, but I have to premise, what we were talking about first. And we have to remember that the oscilloscope and the probe have an input impedance. that means there's a resistor in there of some kind, or some kind of resistance down the line. So in order for that probe head to do work, or excuse me, in order for that probe head to pick up a signal, it has to be doing work, which means the oscillating field stuck in space is actually generating a usable magnetic field.
Yeah.
As long as we don't swipe it out or knock it out with a spark discharge, we could be looking at a system that's upscalable, that generates a massively powerful and useful magnetic field, which continues to operate after only a small amount of input power and priming for up to 2 days. Okay, so I mean, that's what I wanted to ask you about your thoughts.
And then he had a single cooled induction coil to harness the direct electricity that would be generated from that effect. So, but of course, Solin used an electron beam furnace, which was just, it's a very large device. It's a commercial device for melting metals that are very high temperature. And he used that to create the cone that produced the spinning coherent matter, and then had the pickup coil. And so what we're moving from this is that very high energy large device, and trying to get something that's very, very small that would generate the same thing. So
out in the open now, and it's going to be tested very, very soon. So I'll be testing plants inside.
So, you know, I'm sure every last one of us understood every single thing that these scientific geniuses were saying there, of course, right? Sorry.
Just a picture of self-coherence of some of this monoatomic stuff rotating all on its own with zero current within it, zero pumps, anything of the sort. And it always will do these rotations and bubbles and spirals of self-coherence within it.
There was a coil underneath that, right? Underneath the layer?
No, there was a coil just on the far, far corner, and it wasn't even hooked up to electricity or anything.
That spiral that we're looking at, there's nothing actually in the jar underneath that?
Just water. Yeah, so you can see the one coil on the top left, but that's just water all on its own. And always when I dump in fresh water into some of these monatomic or plasmoid solutions situations, or diatomic, some of this is oxidized, it's a little bit blue in that one, but it will always come up layer and then create the exclusion zones and then self-cohere in these spirals as it goes through, and then goes through the different exclusion zones before finally resting. And some of the jars will actually stay like that for
you have to do a stop motion capture of that process occurring. And to remove all doubt, you want to have in that stop motion a pre-video of you removing the coils. Because all the time you've got the coils in there, people will say that's, so you need to remove that. I would expect that there will be.
I've got lots of videos of it just in jars with zero coils or anything of it, just strictly in a jar with no electricity, no coils, nothing, just the material.
And it's doing that. It's doing that spiral.
Yeah, doing spiraling like that, like crazy.
I agree with Bob, man. Set up something to take a picture.
I will.
Say 1 minute or 10 minutes.
We'll show some old shitty smartphone that allows you to take a picture every once in a blue moon. Strap it to a USB and get it to take a 50-day sequence of it, in a controlled light box.
Yeah,
and show that you can disrupt it. Start by disrupting it so that it's just horizontal lines of whatever, or just looks like one homogeneous blob, and then try and catch it. That's real science there. And then you repeat it, and then see if it works faster outside. Take it outside and see if you get the formation working faster.
That's actually a very good experiment, real world experiment that I can do to test exactly your thesis of what you're talking about. I love it. I will get on that.
If these are monoatomics, and it doesn't necessarily have to be all monoatomics, but statistically there's going to be some in there, they could be doing the self-organization, and you're really delivering some useful science there.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Bob.
That's an excellent idea, and I really hope that you do follow that up, because I would love to see
100%
that
I will.
system self-organize in that way.
I
Because I have never seen
actually
anything else
had
like that
something
with no extra
along those lines on my old cell phones before, like in my old lab, and then I lost my phone, and I was so mad. It broke my heart forever because I had all of it. It's like
Bernard,
now I just have pieces of it along the stages, but I don't have it all.
Publish and be damned, or publish and don't publish and be damned. At least, you know, through the process, my view is if you didn't show it, you didn't do it, right? You're just making it up using what you know now, right? The thing is that if you publish something, like if you knew that what you just showed there, and you published that so that it was available for people to think about, then that goes into the back of their consciousness, and if they see similar things going on, they can then cross relate the information. Just as soon as you've got something, get it out there. Get it out there so it can flourish. And then you don't have to worry about it being lost.
That's what we are now doing together in this moment in time. And I was just pulling up one more to show that I have saved of it, and I promise to keep doing so going forward and setting it up in controlled ways that we can then actually document the evidence of it and use it.
The universe will give you back far more than you give to it.
Always the feedback. You want the positive feedback loop, spiral up, not down.
I hope he does have a video of this. I'm really looking forward to seeing that process happen. If there's nothing underneath that, that's pretty darn interesting. And the question is, you know, where is the fuel being held? Because surely the liquid itself, it's probably not the explanation.
No, it's the actual. If there's monoatomics in there, they will be creating a spin field around them, and they will cluster, just as you see the damage patterns on the Lion reactor. And like, you can force this by getting matter to spin. So Shishkin and his team, they were able to produce strange radiation birdies by getting almost any matter and spinning it at 5,000 RPM in a cone. And so you have literally electrons and matter and whatever is the rest of matter spinning, and it focuses it down on the cone. Their cone was more a 60 degrees, kind of like 120 degrees, like one of that. But I would actually suggest
that show. I have to watch that episode, Bob. I'm guessing you fully covered.
No, I haven't talked about that. No. In the next couple of months, I've got permission from Shishkin to translate all his work, and you're going to see it's really spooky. It's going to be really spooky. You'll realize and understand.
We love woo woo.
What?
We love the spooky woo woo.
It's so far ahead. It's so far ahead. You're in a position where you have. It's not about having an open mind so much so that your brain falls out. It's that you haven't got closed minds, so that you will automatically dismiss factual things that you can replicate yourself. There is a whole body of
exactly. And then it's doing it and then producing it, having it, and being like, hey, look, we've verified it. Anyone can do it. And all of us are starting to do it. And it's a wonderful thing. So this specific one was made off of 24 gold bar anode and a 100% silver cathode monoatomics. And then I've rinsed it. I made it with 5 volts of electricity, AC electricity. I find the best results is actually off of an even smaller amount of like just AA or 2 AAs, so 1.5, 3 volts DC. But yeah, I rinsed the salt out of this, and it was only salt water and the 2 metals that produced this. And now after 7 washes, rinses out of the salt and just the pure monatomic, I have started experimenting consuming some of it. Don't do it before you want to sleep because it will actually keep you awake. And I've started like being able to, like, my cognitive memory and stuff has been increasing ever since. And I've been drinking the waters for about 7 years myself, and continue to do so as well, as it's very healthy. And it's actually tasting sweet now. It's literal sweet water. it's quite pleasant to drink.
Well, I would imagine that so I imagine that the Ormos is able to cohere very effectively the rare liquid neutrino condensate and build these clusters. And the actual cluster itself when it's not firing at high energy and blowing up and throwing high amounts of ions out, and it's not too large, then it's a much lower biological risk, but then life uses it. And my father was a farmer, and he always said, if you can ever use rainwater, use it. Do not use tap water, and especially rainwater from a storm. But of course, you've already seen those, I think is it Kelvin experiments, where you have water dropping and you have a charge separation between them. Okay, and you can actually produce a voltage. So you already know that a water drop is going to be charged. And what are we talking about? Charge clusters. It's already in the rainwater. It's already there. So rainwater is automatically, I even think it's better when you're watering your plants with tap water to actually do it through a sprayer. Because it goes up, gets charged, and drops down. It's actually better than just even drip feeding.
I love that you just put science to something I've done instinctually with my own plants and misting them forever throughout the years. Especially when I was growing my medical.
Misting through something that will cause.
Yeah, because you're spritzing it up and. That's actually the same sort of thing with HHO, how it's turning to HHO mist and HHO fuel as opposed to it just being pure hydrogens, that mist charged cluster aspect you're talking about, right?
What does a mister have in it?
I don't even know. Just the funnel, the shape?
Well, it's got a restriction valve, it's got compression, and it's going to cavitate at the very end as you spray it. If you
it's got a hole, it will produce toro, it will produce condensing of the energy, and it will produce friction as it goes through. This is exactly what you saw with the HHO plasma going through a carbon tube when the coherent matter wave was formed by Slobodan Stankovic using HHO. This is exactly what Leclerc was doing when he was having a perforated 1 mil or 2 mil thick aluminium sheet, and it was perforated with big holes and little holes. And what he did was he had high pressure on this end and a low pressure down that end, and it produces toroidal cavitation, focusing the energy.
And you were saying that one though had high radiation though, right? That it was dangerous to be around, and that's one of the main reasons why I don't.
And that's the beauty of Roy Mars's equipment, is he's just vibrating it like a fish fin. In fact, he likes fish. And so he's vibrating. We know it produces cavitation. We know it produces ultrasonics, but it's not taking it to the max. We need to use this technology gently. There's a point at which it becomes damaging to health.
Quick question, Bob. Is that essentially what would have made Victor Schauberger's technology work as well, as cavitation?
Well, he had a lot of technology. So if you're floating logs down a flume, you've got friction on the side and it pushes that stuff, and you get denser material in the middle. And if you're putting things through a vortex, the denser nucleons will go to the middle, so you get a higher concentration of deuterium in the center. So there's all kinds of different things where flow will do this. But if you really do intense vortexes that you see in the ultra experiments, you're going to get a bubble. On a bubble, you're going to have charge separation, but also you're going to have a dielectric boundary, and that will produce easy water on the outside of this spinning torus structure, which is going like this and like that. So you're literally creating exactly what you need, like that.
Yeah, that's so straightforward and awesome. I love the simplicity.
It's so simple to understand when you have a clue. And for me, this is a bit of a joke now, because I feel like I'm cheating the whole time. All of these mysteries,
the wizard of wizards, Bob.
As Victor Schauberger said himself, comprehend and copy nature.
Absolutely. It's all there. If you are trying to technologically tell nature what to do, then you are going to be fighting.
You're already fighting the force and having resistance instantly, as opposed to just operating in harmony and then able to pull the energy out.
You have to work with what nature's ontological will is. You have to do that. You have to work in the way that it wants to work. And that's not just about resonance, that's the whole kit and caboodle. You have to work with it to get the most from it. It's like, if you want to get the most from your community of people, you know, your family, you have to work with them. If you're going to say things that are going to cause resistance, you're not going to get very far. You know, and everyone, me included, has experienced this kickback you get when you're not working within the system, as it were. The problem is when the system is people who are already trying to fight nature, and they don't agree that you should be doing it with nature. They agree that you should be doing as their patent says, and if they're not doing it as their patent says, then it doesn't exist.
So it's far more profitable to go against nature, because that way you have a limited resource that only you can provide.
Well, you can argue that, but if you are going with nature and you get things done a lot more energy efficiently, or you synthesize things that are high value, which, you know, people were saying, well, you can't possibly have made that with alchemy. You can't possibly. So I'm going to pay the full price for it. And you go, haha, suck at you.
Well, the reason why I say it's more profitable is because the truth is, in a future where scarcity is no longer a thing, because we can literally fabricate matter and transmute everything that we need, there really is no point to having to worry about any of these things. So who cares how profitable it is when we're not trading in profits, but instead in resources and creativity and time and effort, in real valuable human commodities that actually equal something tangible for our biological existence. Because I'll tell you what, none of us are born with a wallet than anyone that ever has been. So,
but you know, in many countries, you're born with debt.
Yes, you are, including mine.
You're born with.
All right, and just a reference, I paused it here for a second. What's in between Bert and Ernie going on there? I have basic electrolysis set up. You can see on the right-hand side the triple copper coil going down and the hydrogen bubbling up. It's a little foggy there. That's very small atomic hydrogen gas atoms going up, and then every so often you see these larger big bubbles pop out all at once, hopping up as well. And that is pure hydrogen fuel that it's so easy to make. This is just salt water and 5 volts of electricity going in. And just the way you design the copper coil, the more surface area, the triple solenoid design, the coil within a coil within a coil, and you're creating this large electromagnetic field out of the electricity, those 5 volts going in, and you're accelerating the reaction. And then on the top left hand side of the jar there, you can clearly see a pure silver ounce anode coin that the hydrogen only ever is coming off the cathode side, the negative black wire, and the it is the anode side that is going to break down into, from the solid mass third state solid silver metal, into what you're beginning to see accumulate at the very bottom of the jar there, that white monoatomic single atom plasma state silver metamaterial that it is now depositing and shall continue to deposit. And it's like that. Also, like ColdFusion electrolysis solves both the hydrogen fuel issue and your nuclear cold fusion energy issue all in one. Like, it would literally advance humanity to the next higher stage of technology and like interstellar civilization within a matter of 20 years of actually applying these print sciences and technologies, as opposed to it being classified for the last 50-60 years and continuously it's always 15 years away from an operational model. Yet, right here, I've given you several within just this stream alone so far. What else was I going to do? Okay, so I'm gonna stop the Bob Greenyer video here. Once again, I'll paste in the live chat the link for the full one. And next up, I am sharing and playing a stream of myself with Mark Sokol of Falcon Space, one of the other founders and hosts of APEC, as well as I have Esoteric Gold, Mike, an amazing fellow alchemist who uses the chemical process of breaking down the monoatomic elements, and which is the ancient, known, official alchemical way, unlike my higher cold fusion method that has the same but more efficient results. Let's see here. Stop share on that one. And yes, I am tired. My eyes. I wish I had my glasses so that I couldn't find them. I think I left them in my truck. Otherwise, I would look half decent instead of bags under my eyes, looking like a freaking pothead that's been up all night, because that is where we're at. It is 8:30 a.m. in Calgary, Alberta right now as I'm making this. The sun has been up for a couple hours, I guess, but we're doing this live. We're teaching, we're learning, and I'm keeping it going because I have the Wide Awake show coming up in 2 hours with Esra and Richie, Magic Treehouse, my family. Hopefully Autodidactic Campbell joins us live as well. So we are plugging away until then to make that happen, and keep the dream going, keep the advancements. Once again, STF up myself, play the video of myself, but others that have much more to share. Sorry, it's also, I don't know why it's such freaking slow service today. Some days it does decent, other days they just like freezing me up nonstop. Hopefully, angel investors so I can get better equipment so these streams can run more smoothly. Hopefully one day.
Monatomic gold, diatomic gold, different colors. Guaranteed, I know that they were the gold. And yet
and you're using the pure gold as to make it out of, right? So
absolutely 99.999% gold. And so I got this forest green gold, which is exactly what David Hudson talked about. I put it into the mercury, and it within a few days it turned red, which is one of the stages of the gold, one of the final stages actually. But I'm not sure if it was charged with a ton of energy like it would have been after 7 months. So, but it was red. And so then the top of it came off. I didn't have it wired, and you have to grease your glass, and I greased it, but over the few days the grease goes bad, and so then it sticks, and it popped off, and I came back, and a lot of the red gold had evaporated out, and that's why you're supposed to keep it hermetically sealed, because the light, they say monatomic gold in its true form becomes, gas is monatomic, it's super energized. Well, this stuff becomes energized and radioactive, and it becomes a gas, and that's why you're supposed to keep it hermetically sealed so that it doesn't escape. So anyway, so I'll show you a picture real fast. Here we go. You want to throw the screen at it? The full screen, Bernie? While we're waiting for your project. Let's see. So that's actually mercury that, let's see, how do we do this? Can you see the red tint of it? Let's see.
Yeah, we could see it. It's kind of brownish in this picture.
Yeah, it's actually red in the right light.
Yeah, right. The camera never does it justice. I know what you're talking about. It's kind of maroonish red.
Yeah, I guess maroon is a better color.
Yeah.
So that's mercury gold. That's just mercury and gold that I made. The powder that I made of monatomic gold, well, diatomic, and then I put it in the mercury and boil it for a few days. Anyway, this is bismuth, and it's green, believe it or not. May not look green, but when you turn off the fire, within an hour, within minutes of turning off the fire, the green garden turns to a gray garden, which is exactly what the ancient literature talks about. So just wanted to show you that these are steps that are in the ancient literature. And so here's how it turned gray after you turn off the heat, which is a no-no in alchemy. It's hard to, anyway, so it turned gray. Anyway.
Cool.
Oh, here's the red gold. You see the red around the rim?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it all went red.
Yeah, man. And so I've been able to create purple, maroon, teal, and like a light green gold and pure white gold combination so far, as well as like you have there, just like the gold powdered, where it's actually still gold flake in its smallest form of a flake. And it's fascinating stuff. I'll bring up a couple examples. Or you still got a few. Please keep actually showing those different ones. I'm stoked. You've done a lot of different processes, treatments, and experiments. Man, this is amazing.
Yeah, only 5-6 years of it. It's taken a lot of time, that's for sure.
Oh, exactly. So an alchemist or a physicist, all of us, it's like it's a lifetime work. The work is never done.
So then when you take the gold back out of the water solution, it sometimes turns into a gold foil.
Yeah, I've had that several times too, and it's like that right there is a nano sheet of gold. So that's probably superconductive gold flake. Like that, because it's a single layer of this pure foil gold that crystal form that happens out of the water each time. I love it. It's crazy.
It's actually as thick as a light foil. It's actually pretty thick. Because I had like almost 10 grams of gold in there.
Nice.
Maybe
like, not cheap. Like we're the only fools taking this freaking
bars of gold and silver, just melting it away into freaking nothing, right? Like, yay!
Yeah, I know. At least we're using the real stuff. Anyway, cool. Yeah, I have more pictures, but they're dispersed. Oh, anyway. Hey Mark.
Yeah.
On the gold nano, let's see, the radioactive gold. Yeah, so you should, if you ever get a chance, take an hour and read David Hudson's patent. And it's
I still need to do that. Fuck. Can you post the link again for us? And can you also post the title of that book for us, Mark?
Here is the book.
Yeah, there's the book. Yeah, just because David Hudson's patent is very interesting, and it really gives you an idea of how serious how much research and time and money went into figuring these monatomic, orbitally rearranged monatomic elements out. They put a lot of work into it.
Absolutely, and it's essential research, right? Like, I'll bring up a couple here to demonstrate as well quickly.
So when reading this patent of David Hudson's recently, it talked about what type of rock they find these monatomic elements in, which is Boron exists in unpure forms in zodiac plagioclase and calcitic plagioclase ores. Anyway, yeah, so anyway, and yet Falspar also has a lot of monatomic elements in them, so.
Pinky wants to learn more about monoatomics.
They're fascinating stuff. So I've been able to get all metals into the pure white state and harvest it and keep it in this fluffy white state and not turn into unoxidized particle or di-tri, whatever bonding that it does. This one is gold that you can see it is purple, and there's a layer of purple and almost a maroon in between. And there's still layers on the glass here of that gold foil flake as well, just not nearly as much or thick as the one that you just demonstrated there, Mike, as this one was just a very small amount.
How much gold is that?
This probably about 2 grams worth of gold that it turned into this, or 0.2 grams, sorry. Or no, is it 10? Fuck.
There's 31 grams.
No, it's about 2 grams. 2 grams. 2 grams. Sorry, 2 grams. About 5% of a 10-gram bar went into this one.
Yeah, 28 grams in an ounce.
Yeah, so this was about 2 grams worth.
So the purple color represents colloidal gold, which I'm sure that there's a lot of monatomics in there, but some of it does come back out and attaches to the hydrogen ion, which turns it back into a colloidal form, I believe.
And so this one is copper, but it's that you can see the red, the pure red, and I've been able to get silver into this state, aluminum, zinc, copper, and iron. I just haven't had enough gold to be able to, because it takes a lot more weight ratio of it. It's still
it's somewhere in between a particle and like a di or triatomic in this red, but it's what all the alchemists refer to, including Isaac Newton in his alchemy writings, as the red mercurial state. And the fact that it is red, it's like, are these metals transmutating into like bonds with a mercury? Like it's quite fascinating. And then obviously the green, teal blue oxidized, and the white in between the two layers of the three particles. Kind of looks like, magnetism
like
as well in some ways.
An alien body in there incubating.
So I have it set up. It's still active with a anode and cathode of one is a triple copper coil solenoid going down, and the other is a 1 ounce silver maple coin being suspended in it. So this one was a copper silver combination, and then that red in the bottom.
Hey Bernie, how much of the white, supposedly white monatomic gold, how much of the coin or bar deteriorated?
So I'll show you what's left of the 110 gram that I've run so far. So like, oops, wrong one. This is a 10 gram bar, right? A 10 ounce full one. So that ran on the cathode side. It doesn't look like it's lost any mass so far. And then the anode side, that is all that is left of it. Maybe 2 grams tops out of the 10 gram. So 20 grams total.
So it used up about 8 grams or something?
Yeah, exactly. I've used about 8 grams, and it said I've ran it 4 times and used 2 grams each time. So I've got like that one purple that was 2 grams, and then I had one that's pure white that's 2 grams. I've got another one. Ooh, this is another purple one of gold that used up another 2 grams. So this is the second one. This is 4 grams. These ones are part of I still must ship off to Francois. Francois was the gentleman that sponsored that, and I still have to give him those. Anywho, documentation, because my channels keep getting deleted. It's a fucking pain in the ass.
So Bernie, on your white, so you still have some of the white powder in your liquid that's gold, supposedly?
Yes, sir. So
now,
this one right here, I've got 2 grams that I just put into when I made it first, and it stayed.
All right, so I'm gonna pause that one there, stop that, and for the last video of this stream, because I got to get ready to join Richie, Estra, and hopefully Campbell at the Wide Awake show coming up in an hour, and I'm gonna hop over to Campbell's stream or video Australia Tartaria right after I'm done here, as I know some people have been jumping back and forth. So I'm going to end it with one of my favorite clips of all time from the Science of Sound series podcast, episode 3. Currently, it's only available on a good friend, Aaron Corbert's YouTube channel. Thank God he originally it was on Autodidactic, it was on Alien Scientist, and it was on Crypto Alchemist, yet somehow it got deleted off of both Jeremy and Campbell's channels, and then my own channel got terminated, and only on currently the full version on YouTube is on Aaron Carber's. Anywho, I will be making sure that I do a full restream of this Science of Sound episode 3 in the next couple of days, because it's just so awesome. It needs to be up and in full once again, because just so good. If you haven't seen my Science of Sound series podcasts, most of them are still on Campbell's channel, Autodidactic One, and they're just so freaking awesome. They speak for themselves. The clip I'm about to show has Jeremy Reese, the alien scientist. In it has Blake and Brent Cousins from Third Phase of the Moon. It has Micheal Boyd. It has Mike from FAraday Research, and it has Jeremiah Pop, JP, plus myself, and of course, with every episode,
I do that all the
Ominous.
time. I have a rap here that I wrote, and because remember you said that there was Cardi B was hosting something, so like. I used the Cardi B song, and I wrote a whole UFO rap, and now I gotta find it.
Huh.
Well, maybe you could
awesome.
listen to this music and come up with the lyrics, and then we could send it over to Michael so he could sing it. I don't know. Michael Rozier from Dark Hour Paranormal. He's our lead singer for our band.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Have you ever seen any of our music videos?
I see a couple of them. Yeah. I don't know if I've seen any in a while, man. You got are you guys doing them consistently?
Yeah, we're trying. Unfortunately, our drummer, we did that album in a month. We did the 12 songs, 5 music videos, and it just came out of nowhere. We're like, we dabbled with the guitar 15 years ago and, played with it for about 5 years, but kind of 10 years ago, we kind of gave it up. Just like, there's so many great musicians out there. We're not going to compete. We're not going to be able to do anything of substance. But for some reason, after we got this, thing.
Your music was soul, brother. That's all it needs. All music, just that rhythm mixed with soul.
Yeah. And man, we just all of a sudden just started to play the guitar, and we recorded it, and we're like, this is something, we never really recorded any of our music. Then we sent it to our drummer friend, and he did this really cool drum set along with all these kinds of cool sounds. And then we're like, wow, that's amazing. And then we're like, maybe we could get somebody to sing it. And then that's where Michael from Dark Hour came in, and we sent it to him over there in Boston. So again, we did all this remotely, and it's crazy.
Oh, that's actually pretty cool. We gotta go meet up with him, man. We should be recording with him for all of his stuff. I could write lyrics for you guys like that.
Yeah.
Here, I'm gonna get my lyrics for this song. I just to share with you guys what I got so far. You guys are gonna flip out.
I'd like to JP. Is JP here?
Yeah, I'm here. What's up?
Hey, JP, man. So you devised this contraption prototype yourself, basically?
Well, yeah. Bernie sent me a text message saying, "Hey, we're gonna do this show about sound." So I'm like, okay, let me see what I got sitting around. So about 5 or 10 minutes later, I threw this little thing together and hooked it up to the signal generator, and that's what we've been staring at. It's not particularly interesting, but hey, for all the cheap parts and for a couple of minutes of assembling and soldering, it's not too bad for super glue.
Yeah, not bad for super glue. So, how heavy is this foam, would you say?
Extremely light. And like I said,
there we go.
Those transducers is probably using about 1/10 of a watt. So we've got about,
Would it be possible to do the mathematics of upscale? Because that's my question tonight.
I guess you weren't here for the earlier part of the show, but I was mentioning I used a 100-watt transducer to lift a 7-gram cup
out of a resonating chamber.
So I'm looking at something, I don't know, amusement park level. I don't know. Again, you're talking about the dangers of the frequency and what it could do to the human body. But again, we don't know because right now we're just dealing with styrofoam. So we're not dealing with anything biological at the moment. So is it a fact that it would damage biological life?
It's squeeze.
Or are we just
squeeze stuff?
Well,
Like,
if
you
can do it right and protect those eardrum rupturing frequencies, then you might be all right. You know what I mean?
Like a suit.
What about,
that's what I was saying before.
What about if they're deaf? Like we could
So
do
I'm
sign
playing a
language.
video outside the frequency and water right now, and that would be the issue: is that if you're blasting that strong of sonic frequencies through your body, that it might literally rupture your cells from the motion.
So like, all right. So we also got to mitigate the brain cell and eyeball rupturing frequencies as well. All right. Blood cells, noted. Veins.
Well, just like
capillaries. Capillaries.
Testicles.
Well, yeah, all that fun stuff, right? You know what I mean?
Get sterilized.
This is what I'm afraid that unfortunate this is what we're looking at, the disruption of the volume.
Plasma, right? Plasma.
You know what? Your balls rupturing in the levitation machine while you're flying.
See this.
Listen, you could fly for 20
Sounds
minutes,
like an
but
experience.
balls might rupture. Well, this isn't conducive.
You could go one of three ways.
I always thought that like if we made artificial intelligence and it wanted to control us, it would do it through the resonant frequencies.
Yes,
through your balls.
It would be
100%.
Believe me, the military. Yes,
they have military satellites.
The military
that
has all the
broadcast
data on ball
frequencies.
rupturing frequencies. Believe me. Yes, they do. What is it? The Havana syndrome? What is all that about? Oh, that's
Right?
just,
It could be exactly this.
Yep. You know.
Can yell at me and I can actually hear. Go, yeah. Go.
And this is a 2-minute warning that I'm going to shut it down because apparently Campbell might be waiting for me to finish before he starts. It's been excellent. It's been a slice. I love you all. 2 more minutes of the amazing ominous, and we'll catch you over on Autodidactic, and then Esra, Mindful Exposures, Magic Treehouse, and probably back on this channel too with the Wide Awake Show.
Shit. Yo, hang on, let me do it fast. Do you want me to keep going, or are you ready to go on and take over? Oh no, I think he wants me to keep going. No, I don't even know. Oh, okay. So you want to talk about frequencies, man? Yo.
All right. Love you all. See ya.
That's amazing.
Autodidactic and the Wide Awake Show.
Does your voice ever get tired? Like when you're doing
Love
that for
you.
a prolonged period
All
of time,
be
does
that
your throat
change.
ever like get strained or tired or?
If I use other things, so
This is the
sometimes I
bit,
give it a
isn't
rest
it?
while I
It's-
put the
that
diaphragm.
confuses me. It's like, did we choose to come here to get this sorted out, or is this just seems a little unfair, doesn't it? That you know, we seem to be here, and there's this parasite messing up our experience.
And, you know, I know in my own life, the times that I've made major changes, it was like it became more painful not to change than to change. That was when I made big changes.
You know, it's this whole ridiculous narrative of it's an unsafe world. There's not enough for you. It's scary. Everyone's out to get you, and clearly the old civilization was completely the opposite to that. It was all about empowerment, like literally.
Cosmic resonance, I think they called that one, or something.
Cosmic resonance. That's a better name.
Real science, you can actually produce free electricity, and this is part of what Tesla was doing, is the differential between the top of the spire to the ground actually creates an electrical differential that you then connect to another wire that goes into the ground, your grounding. Put that into the third phase in your circuit, and then you have a bell ringing circuit, and that actually produces plasma electricity out of the air. It's real technology. These things actually function producing electricity. It's crazy.
The movies are the truth, and the news is the lies. They've completely flipped it.
You know, when you look at everything with new eyes and you come across information like she was born into a very wealthy family with elite connections, you know, it means something very different now to me than it would have even a few years ago. And it's our free will that they've really also messed with, because we've been lied to and we react based on lies. Just getting their independence and end up in civil wars for 20, 30 years happens a lot.
Because we keep choosing to pick up the gun and use it on ourselves instead of building and uniting and accepting that we are one people, one spirit, one harmony on one plane that together, united, can achieve anything we dream of.
So do you want to, wake up, or do you want to just keep going along because the change is too difficult?
And then give them pieces of information that they will then pursue themselves and look into, and then they'll wake themselves up.
I was going to mention it's the whole red pill, blue pill of the Matrix. I mean, that of the movie. And you can consider that movie as a documentary because they're telling us something about what's happening here. So do you want to, wake up, or do you want to just keep going along because the change is too difficult?